In my field, we say that the cows are the easy part. It's getting people to do what we think is required for their livestock health under constrained financial margins. We raise livestock for one purpose, to feed human populations. In many places in the world, livestock keeping is also critical for wealth generation, social stability, and preservation of ecosystem health. Of the world's terrestrial carbon, 70% is in pasture ground. If we are to remove that and put it into crop production, the consequences for global warming will be much more severe. That also fits well into wildlife preservation as well as ecosystem health per se. In addition, 80% of human diseases are animal associated, mostly through domestic pets and livestock. And in addition to that, animal source food and human diets are key to human growth and development, particularly in the first 1,000 days. This is particularly important from preconception in mothers through conception to avoid intrauterine growth retardation and to allow her to be able to lactate well enough to feed her infant. This is not a simple equation, and this is actually from a friend of mine, John McDermott, who heads up the nutrition group at IFPRI, the International Food Policy Research Institute at the Consultative Group in Agricultural Research. It's part of the World Bank funded system of research to go through and look at how human growth and development can be better achieved. To solve this model will require economists, social workers, laboratorians, pharmacists, land use specialists, policy and policing personnel, epidemiologists, clinicians, nurses, health and animal health workers, marketing personnel, venture capitalists, wildlife biologists, ecologists, mathematicians, etc. There's no way that we can deal with all of the interactions here without working with many different disciplines who have much better expertise in the areas than any one of us can do collectively.
So when we talk about interdisciplinary collaboration, it's important to realize that we cannot exclude ourselves from the entire ecosystem. What do I mean by this? I mean that animals, humans, and the environment are intertwined together. So whatever takes place in any of those will automatically affect the other. An emerging disease is a causative agent of an infectious disease whose incidence is increasing following its appearance in a new host or in an existing population as a result of long-term changes in the underlying epidemiology. This could be changes in the environment, changes in the susceptible host, and other things, and then we realize big outbreaks arising out of that. And the characteristics of these emerging diseases is that they have a broad host range, a very broad host range, and that's very important, and that is very critical when we are designing disease control strategies. The wide host range is key. And most of these are viruses, which are RNA viruses. And these have capacity to mutate easily and turn into other pathogens, which probably at the time they occur, we don't have capacity to handle them. And if there's an outbreak arising out of that, what can we do? We are going to lose people. So in that case, we need to do something at the interface before this kind of thing explodes into the human population. On average, we are very unfortunate that one newly identified infectious disease occurs, has been occurring for the last 30 years. So we need to be aware that at any one time, at any one moment, we do expect one emerging disease occurring or more. So those are some of the examples of the diseases that are transmissible from animals to humans. Most especially what we have had that has been so devastating to the African continent and beyond is Ebola, you see, Ebola. And approximately 75% of these emerging diseases are zoonotic. That's what we should know. And that's one of the reasons why we need to think about interdisciplinary collaboration across all disciplines, professionals, the vets, the medical doctors, the environmentalists, engineers, and so many other people. We need to come together and solve such problems. Continue. And 335 emerging infectious diseases have lately been identified. That is 1940 and 2004, 335. And these outbreaks were positively correlated with growing population densities. So as the population increases, there are higher chances of having outbreaks. And 60.3% of these are zoonoses. And I've already said 71.8% of these originate from the wildlife population. So physicians should know that this is a huge percentage of infectious diseases which arise from the animals. And this calls for multidisciplinary collaboration. Yeah? Because if there's a problem in the animal population, and for you, a physician, you are not communicating with a vet, so how are you going to intervene effectively to overcome these problems? So this is an opportunity for us to collaborate across disciplines. What is the biggest problem in Africa in as far as this is concerned? One, as I've already said, poverty, malnutrition. People look for anything and eat. You'll see them in the bush looking for any animal in search of proteins. We have a challenge of inadequate water supply and sanitation. I've been moving to several communities here and outside here in other countries. You find people sharing the same source of water with the animals, domestic animals, wildlife, and all that. So what do you expect as an outcome? We also still have a challenge of weak public health services. Right now, I'm from Uganda. There's a strike of doctors and nurses. They have laid down their tools. People are not taking care of the patients. And their claim is this. There are no services. They are not facilitated, you see? So this is one of those challenges. And then we have conflict. There's conflict. You can see what's happening currently in Libya, where some of our brothers are being auctioned like animals, you see? If you want somebody, you just go and buy $400 and take. See? Maybe war. People moving from one part of the country to another country. What do they move with? You see? And then we have a very high degree of human-animal coexistence. I'm very sure most of you have seen our poor families living together with their animals. She sleeps here, a goat sleeps there, a chicken sleeps there, in the same house. You see? This is what happens. And I want to emphasize, before I end, that One Health is the way to go. If we are to sustainably and efficiently going to manage to control these diseases and reduce the wastage in terms of the expenses related to the control and prevention of diseases. You have seen what the impact could be. So when you embrace the One Health approach, it will give us an opportunity to communicate across disciplines and also be able to detect early these diseases before they get into the population, the human population. So that's how we define One Health, as a collaborative effort of multiple disciplines working locally, nationally, and globally to attain optimal health for people, animals, and our environment. Continue. Thank you for listening.
This is now really an eye-opener. So we have people from academia in here, and you're talking about changing mindsets. How does the trainings we are offering, or how does the current system try to impact the One Health? I'm addressing this question to either Prof. Thomas or Robert.
So if I look at it as an academician, which I don't really consider myself, I consider myself much more of a private sector person, and that's what I've done most of my life. But I probably had several thousand students come through my practice, and these discussions are had. I raise food for human consumption. I can't define One Health better. If we don't have all the other people involved in milk production and meat production to assure there are no foodborne diseases coming through into the human population, we can't control diseases. Tuberculosis and brucellosis, pasteurization was developed to take care of that. Pasteur, when he did it, he was a laboratorian, yet he was the one that was able to solve that. Koch from Germany was able to go through and look at ways to be able to solve issues. As a physician, often associated with cattle-borne diseases at that time rather than human diseases. So I think by including, especially in the clinical training, people involved so that you would have physicians and veterinarians working together, which I know the Department of Public Health at McKinney has done this, particularly in Kasese and Fort Portal, and I think it's a really good model. So the medical school and the veterinary school actually work together. Cambridge is one of the few institutions that still has the clinical students going through in their first years of training. Both the physicians and veterinarians are trained together. Davis, unfortunately, didn't let that happen. That's where egos come into play. And the first dean of the medical school saw himself better than the veterinary school. So they never did go through and have the first 2 years, which were our preclinical years. We were all supposed to be taught together. I still think that's a good idea. And I think if there's ways to go through and have more of the public health disciplines, pharmacy and others, go through and work more directly together, One Health becomes not just a marketing tool, it becomes the reality of good science.
Thank you. My name is Alina Sehnert. I'm a veterinary student from Germany. And my question is, do you also, like what I find is that I, as a veterinarian, I'm often not respected by the human doctors. They don't really take us serious in a way. So do you think it would be good to tackle it, to like combine campuses and to lecture veterinary students and human medical students together in, for example, zoonosis, and try to build a platform for both to exchange pretty much diseases that they don't know where they emerge and re-emerge from, especially for human doctors when they don't know where it's coming from. Since, for example, many human doctors might not think of chlamydia and the connection to, home animal birds, and like just not find it. So how can we make a platform, to basically exchange knowledge? Thanks.
I will say that it's very key. For example, I'm working in wildlife, and it took me for a long time to have someone who's been prepared to come and work with me. So my role was to try to find a vet who's been trained as a vet, because I'm a vet, basically, and to take him to another step, to be a wildlife vet, which is a specific, specialty in our degree. Now, for example, I'm happy that I'm not the only vet working with mountain gorilla. I have 4 vets who are able now to work with mountain gorilla, to work with the lion. I'm still working with people who will be dealing with lion, with black rhinoceros, with elephant. But it's a need that we need to create the future prosperity. Thank you.
We get to the point where we're trying to go through and encourage somebody to go in and work someplace because they get fee offsets in their education costs. As a consequence of that, for 4 or 5 years, they'd come work in some of the rural areas, and once that was done, they would leave. What needs to be done, and works well, is to identify people who would be coming from that area, have them come to the veterinary school and train, and they're very much so more likely to go home. And I think that's something that we don't do within our admissions process as a whole. We choose our, quote, best and brightest, the highest grades. And quite frankly, in the US, that correlation between grades and performance through veterinary school or after, it's not very well correlated. So what we need to do is look at people skills and others that are going to put people in areas where that market can be developed. And the other part of that question is, have we done market research? Again, I'm a private sector person. Most of I've defined myself by working every day, and if my clients don't like me, I get fired and I don't make money. So I have to serve the needs of my clients. Many of us going into medicine, that's not why we go into medicine. We don't go in to become business people. We go into medicine because we are passionate about saving lives, either animal lives or human lives. So I think we need to go through and rethink the admission processes as well to make sure we're targeting what need sets are. And then one final statement. The veterinary schools across the United States are proliferating. Why? Because the schools make a lot of money at it. The problem is you're going to have, as has happened to the law profession, a number of legal graduates who will be driving taxi cabs because they can't get a job. So there does need to be a balance between what we think we need as a society and ensuring that those well-trained people have good employment, and also the academic needs of getting more money into their institutions. I think the one thing I would encourage everyone to do is to learn to engage with all the other disciplines in a collaborative way.
We need respect across disciplines as we do our work. We must realize that each of us has unique skills that I may not have, but if I have him or her in the team, I think we shall have a winning team. Thank you so much.
So let's get into the discussion. I'd really like to bring in Dr. Alex Sanga, having that we've just come from the one discussion and we're seeing where vets, doctors are not being appreciated, yet in the case of antimicrobial resistance, we see one of the problems or one of the causes of the problems is that animals are being treated or are being given antibiotics, and therefore the effect, there's a ripple effect. So could you kindly start us off by talking about that? And as a vet, what do you think you should be doing and what do you think the public should be doing? Emphasizing especially to the fact that unfortunately most livestock owners are not necessarily educated with regards to being professionals, and therefore they may not necessarily know the gravity of what they're doing. So kindly, welcome.
When we use the antibiotics to animals, we have got what we call the withdrawal period, the period which is allowed the medicine to stay inside the body before that animal is going to be slaughtered and used for the purpose of supplying food. As we see, the population is ever increasing every time, so the requirement of food also is increasing. And as we heard from Professor Thomas, he said that the problem with the starch is not very much, that is the carbohydrate is not very much, but the supply of protein is so complicated. And we saw from the previous presentation that we can find even the protein from the wild animals. So by taking this animal who used these antibiotics and we don't adhere to the withdrawal period, that is, we don't consider about the pharmacokinetics and the toxicokinetics of that particular medicine, we are going to introduce in our body a small amount of dose of that particular antibiotic. And when we are going to find, or this antibiotic is going to find the microbes inside our body, but not to the point of killing them, these microorganisms, because they want to defend themselves, they're going to develop that resistance.
Again, when antibiotics are used, either in animal, in human, we have seen that after some very few years after the deployment of the antibiotics in the use, we see resistance emerging. So you can see, for example, for penicillin, only after 5 years, we have seen some cases of resistance because of that use of antibiotics. So the more we use antibiotics, the more we create resistance. Next, please. Again, if I say you that some of the figures in terms of antibiotic resistance is global, and if you can see, for example, about today, some of the infections due to simple infection now cannot be treated because we don't have good antibiotics. And most of the times, we are requested to use some very expensive antibiotics and also some very toxic antibiotics which are not really affordable to most of the populations in need of these antibiotics. And in Rwanda, we know that also we are not excluded from the problem, because in the recent study that we conducted here, we found that a very high prevalence of E. coli, which are resistant to third generation antibiotics, which are not commonly used also.
The first thing I am going to ask you, because I am taking the approach of academy, do you think we are going to stop the resistance of microbes? This is the first question you are going to answer me, because I am taking you like students. For me, the problem is the Darwinian law. We say that the development of living things, it is a fight. We are fighting. Microbes, humans, animals, everything that is living is fighting for life. So we should know that the microbes will not just say, okay, let us die. No. They will fight for life. This is true. So now what is the problem? We wanted to kill them. Remember when we were teaching, because he asked what we start when we are going. We know that they started resistance. Resistance is going to be there for me. You are going to answer me, you. But now the problem is, when you are treating the disease, the normal disease, the functional disease, physiological diseases, our objective is to make the balance, to make the functioning again. But for the microbes, our objective is to kill them, to stop them from living. That is the fight. So what are we going to do? Are we going always thinking killing them, or can we take some approaches? Because he's thinking about the research. In the research, we can also think in another way. We have microbes, billions of billions, who are living with them friendly. They are on our skin, mouths, and everywhere. Those microbes are not pathogens, but we have microbes that are pathogens. Instead of having that idea, kill, 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 can we think in another way? How can we focus on stop the pathogen, but help them living? Is it possible?
So we experience from our past age whereby a pharmacist was being considered as a doctor. You can do your diagnostics and you can start even prescribe. We know that there is drugs which are free from prescription. In some way, even you go far in the US, in Europe, you can find some place where they even written, these drugs is taken without prescription. You enter a CVS store in the USA, you have cough, you go, you take one product, and you go straight to the counter for pain. But when it comes to antibiotics, yes, of course, we need a prescription. So this fight, for me, it's about a mindset, first for the patient, but secondly, which is very more important for us as the health professionals, for us as the pharmacists and the doctors. To go a milestone ahead, we have seen also prescription having antibiotics on their prescription, or sometimes having anti-malaria drugs on their prescriptions. So you cannot comfort yourself with the doctor who make that prescription. This now become an issue of how the pharmacist can prevail his professional ethics versus its economical ethics. Yes, of course. If you go in terms of business perspective, antibiotics are expensive. So you can get more money by selling antibiotics than selling a painkiller. So it's our responsibility as a pharmacist to really endorse that my profession ethics come first before my economical situation. Thank you so much.
As you remember, when we started fighting against the HIV/AIDS, the first thing which is very successful, it is the information. So when people, they started being aware, is when even the ARVs and the things, the programs are working properly because of awareness. So that's great awareness. If I'm going to ask, for example, question as a professor here asked you, we as academia, we all the time like asking questions. Can someone raise hand that I ever, never contributed in the AMR? Can someone raise a hand that I never contributed? So you can find that mostly, almost all of us have contributed either of irrational taking the antibiotics, or taking antibiotics without prescription, or not finishing the doses, okay? Or using improperly, instead of using a powder in a capsule, we can take that one and apply in the wound. So many people and even the professionals, they are contributing in this one. So when we create this, we are going to have, so I'm very glad that the campaign is so successful. And also on Monday, we are going to start another campaign that says that washing the hands is very important. We are enemies at our own because we are doing businesses now. The doctors, they're doing business. Pharmacists, they're doing business. And everyone is doing business in the sake of getting money, okay? So if a patient comes to you and asks you, and you see that he's got this problem, or you've got UTI, you use this antibiotic, didn't help you, you just guess that didn't help you, then take this one. You're going to instruct or to prescribe the more expensive drug. Maybe you've got a relationship to that drug and other things. So this war is difficult, and I can say that I don't see the easy way of fighting, but let us keep on fighting. Let us keep on hoping that one day we can find a solution on that. As a professor said here, these microbes also, they want to live. Maybe we should think as a young scientist how to live harmoniously with these microbes without killing them. Just leave them. And when we had Professor Kayumba yesterday, he said the thing which is very important, and also as a strategy in the plan of fighting against antimicrobial, is to find vaccines. Okay, vaccines in different diseases, whereby we are not going to use antibiotics, we just make vaccination. These microbes, they are going to survive, and we are going to survive. I don't think that smallpox viruses, they're not, that poxviridae, they're not surviving. They are surviving, but they cannot find their way inside our body because we have got the vaccine against them. Okay, so I think let us find a way of doing this thing. Thank you.
In the USA, you have the same problem. But here, what can we do about this? This is the problem of money. If we can find the money somewhere, it is easy to make the research. For instance, I said here, we can look how to combat the resistance, not to kill the microbe, but to live friendly with those microbes. If you go with your research, you are a scientist, and you tell to a company, I have a model, they will say, we don't know, we see. Just they can close the door for that. This is the problem. But our objective currently is not really to stop, but to reverse, to downhill the rate of resistance, because we have some aspect contributing to the speed up of that resistance. What can we do to reverse the speed? That is the most important currently. And we have been talking about, for instance, strong therapy. What is it? You are looking for the treatment of malaria. The WHO defined the guideline, the model, the prescription. They say currently you have to use artemisinin-based combined drugs. It means you cannot use artemisinin alone. You have to associate with another molecule. This is to increase the potency, but also to reduce the resistance aspects. We have some cases when you combine things. Just an example I can take. You are taking azithromycin, or you are taking vancomycin. You will take those drugs. But for pseudomonas, sometimes when you combine the antibiotics and you take with tamoxifen, tamoxifen is used for treating cancer. Or you can combine with statins. Statins are used for cholesterol liver. There have been some responses showing that combining tamoxifen, combining statin with one of antibiotic can increase the efficacy of the molecule when there is resistance. That has been tried when there is resistance.
everyone. I'm Petra, I'm from Croatia, and I'm IPSF President-elect. When I arrived to Rwanda, I was welcomed by the smiley faces of our friends, and it was really nice. Rwanda is a really beautiful country, a lot of greenery, and I really enjoy it here. The Rwandan people are really welcoming. They all want to help you, they all want to meet with you, and I'm really enjoying my time. The organization of WHSS is really good, a lot of great panels, a lot of good workshops, and everything is really great organized. And see you all in 2019 in IPSF World Congress. I will be looking forward to coming back in 2 years.
Hello, Unakushe. My name is Ishmael Aitijalo. I'm from Sierra Leone. My first impression about the airport so far, Kigali, it was very good. I can say Kigali airport is the only airport I came to that nobody harassed me, and the people are very hospitable. Rwanda have good people, they are hospitable, they are nice, they are caring. And talking about the organization of the conference, the organizers did very well. I must say they did extremely good to organize a conference hosting over 1,000 people. I want to say kudos to them. And my expectation for the conference, we are met in terms of the speakers, the plenary sessions, the workshops, and I believe all that we have learned, it's our time we go and then practice what have been taught, and I believe we'll be able to achieve the sustainable development goal. I wish to come back to Kigali, Rwanda, the cleanest, the safest and the livable city in Africa.
I'm a delegate from Nigeria and I'm present at WHSS 2017. Okay, my first impression on arriving at the airport in Rwanda was that, first of all, I was amazed at the cleanness of the airport. So I was quite impressed because I'd read about it and then this was me seeing it live. So yes, I was impressed. The Rwandan people, I just couldn't but emphasize that Rwandans are very open, very welcoming, and they're very nice people. Anybody I walk up to is always willing to help. And yes, Rwanda is quite safe. I was working at 3 a.m. and I was safe. Okay. As regards the organization of WHSS, it's been absolutely wonderful. I'm really impressed on how RPSA has been able to organize up to over 1,000 delegates within not such a small city, and they've done a really great job, meeting up with deadlines and organizing everyone. It's been a really fantastic thing. Of course, in fact, I plan to return to Rwanda in 2019 because I know that Rwanda will be hosting another conference which I would love to attend. So definitely you'll be seeing me in Rwanda very soon.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dorothea. I'm from EPSA. EPSA is for European Pharmaceutical Student Association, and I'm the Vice President of European Affairs. And in Germany you would say, Guten Tag. My first impression of the airport in Rwanda was that when I arrived there at the line for the visa, I saw in the back, I already saw the people from WHSS and I was waving at them. It was super nice, so I was really happy to see them. I found Rwanda people super helpful. Whenever I stand somewhere and I look really lost, somebody from the organizing committee comes to me and says, oh yeah, can I help you? They're like, yeah, sure, thank you. So that's really nice. I really like the organization, especially I like the food. I've always tried everything and I liked everything, so that was really good. I would love to come back to Rwanda. I'm not sure when I will be able to, but it was definitely in my 5-year plan.
Hi, my name is Sylvester Adeyemi, and here we are at WHSS. I'm from Nigeria, and coming to Rwanda has been a very wonderful experience for me. At the airport, when I first arrived, first thing I observed was the organization and how the immigration were there to welcome everyone. The committee did their job and they were right on time to ensure that everyone get carried along from the airport to our accommodation. Coming to Rwanda has been a very wonderful experience. Right from the publicity of WHSS, I look forward to meeting young healthcare professional and discuss issues relating to SDGs and how we can better achieve universal health coverage in the African context. Rwanda is a very wonderful place to be, a country of 1,000 hills, and the organization of the event is impressive. The organizing committee did a very wonderful job. They ensured that the transport system was intact and every event was timely. I would like to say kudos to Janvier and his team, and of course, I would want to be in Rwanda again. I'm looking forward to IPSF World Congress in 2019, and I'm sure that the organizing committee will have much more to offer us. So thank you for WHSS. It's an honor to be part of you. Thank you.
Hi, Bite. I think that's hi in Kinyarwanda. My name is Kennedy, and I'm from Uganda. My first impression, I usually use road to come to Kigali because Uganda is very near. My first impression, it's a very hilly country, and the roads are very nice. The people are so nice. The people of Rwanda, they're amazing. They're really amazing people. They're so welcoming, and you know, they can show you around and help you get around Kigali so much. This conference, I know RPSA is one of, to me, it's an organization I admire a lot when it comes to organizing events. And for the WHSS, they just raised the bar higher and higher and higher. Coming back to Rwanda, definitely, this is my third time in Rwanda. I definitely would love to come back for many IPSF events, for many, you know, World Congress in 2019, even for social events. Maybe my friends are getting married, so I definitely come back to Rwanda. Thank you, Murakoze.
Hello everyone, welcome to Rwanda, and we would like to welcome you in 2019 for the IPSF World Congress in Rwanda. It will be such a great privilege to host you here after hosting the World Health Student Symposium in 2017. It's a great privilege for us to welcome you again in 2019. There is so much that you don't want to miss in Rwanda. Welcome. Thank you so much.
The government of Rwanda knows how accessible it is to bring together both national and international actors to invest in healthcare that is efficient and equitable. However, the responsibility of these lies in the hands of youth like yourself, building on these in your own countries. Dear students, necessary changes cannot be achieved overnight, and progress is definitely inside as I see young people setting up this work and being active participants. We are still at the beginning, and the challenges we face are huge, but the spirit of Rwanda and Africa has never backed down from the challenge. To quote our President, His Excellency Paul Kagame, for the youth to take their proper role in leadership, it must start early. You don't wait for tomorrow. You start as early as possible. Start with youth, then groups, and then it goes up to the level of the nation and beyond. End of quote. We conclude that the World Health Young Students Symposium is a relevant tool for this and has strengthened our resolve toward achieving SDGs, particularly the goals number 3, good health and well-being. Discussions over the last 4 days have been enriched with new insights and resolve for good health and well-being. I wish you all perseverance and wisdom as you implement what you learned from this conference. I want once again to thank the leadership of the university for supporting our young students, and I want also to thank our students for being good ambassadors of our beloved country. And I wish you safely back home for those who are visiting Rwanda. But we keep in touch, and we hope to see you again very soon in Rwanda. Thank you.